Hi, everyone. It's Kelly from the Hub here today with our friend, of course, Pastor Jim from Bergstrasse. How are you there, friend?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's good day so far.
It
Good
is
day.
a lovely day. It's bright and sunny again, so of course we have to adjust where we sit.
Yeah. It's
There's sun
between
everywhere.
it's between Christmas and New Year's. It's sort of like the time to just sort of like chill.
Yeah, it's definitely cookie eating
Oh
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Eggnog. Mm,
I
yeah.
had a hard time finding eggnog this year.
Oh,
We're sort of fussy about our eggnog. You know how those
oh,
things are.
okay.
So this is the classic time of year to do this classic conversation about New Year, right?
Hmm.
Um, we should talk about this new year. Um, a lot of people are. Oh, my friend yesterday. Remember, we tape this on Tuesday and it airs on Thursday. My friend yesterday posted a thing that said it's the last Monday of 2020, and I was like,
Hmm.
hmm.
Hmm. Okay.
So is
So
what
this
do
is the
we
last Tuesday of 2020 then.
right? Right. What
Fourth.
is what do I think we all literally want to wake up on whatever Friday morning and
Right.
go woo, and like there's fairies and magic
Yes.
dust and
Yes.
yeah.
Well, actually, I understand it's going to happen at 12:01.
Right. Right. As we watch the ball drop, the
As
fairy
we watch
dust will
the
start.
ball drop, it's just going to be like, woo, everything's gone.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What world do you live in, Kelly?
Yeah, I know. So how do we sort of how do we do this? Because every year we all say, this is the year that I will, and then you fill in the blank, and then January 7th, you're like, chocolate, or whatever it is that you didn't want to do, right?
Well,
So, I mean,
well,
I'm not saying that, we don't, but
first of all, I commend you for making it to January the 7th.
right.
I only last about 2 or 3 days.
Right. And like every store has like those big bins that you put stuff in and cleaning products and calendar organizers and treadmills.
Oh, I was just thinking, and all of the gyms, all of the gyms that are out there look forward to January because everyone between Christmas and New Year's is saying, "Oh, I'm going to get a better body and I'm going to do this," and come February 1st, all of a sudden nobody shows up at the gym anymore. I shouldn't say no one, but I mean they definitely see
Right.
a trend that goes down.
So that's normal. That's normal every new year. What do we do this year? And I hate feeling like this because even though I think we know that we're going to make a resolution and we're going to break it, but we're all happy about it during our pork and sauerkraut dinner because those are the rules. And then you're okay with that you broke it most of the time because you're like, it's okay. I'm
Yeah.
still a good person. But I think this year, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's going to are we making resolutions? Are we just saying, I'm going to get the vaccine? Are we going to say, I mean, like, it feels like a hopeless time to try to feel hopeful, I guess. I don't
So
know.
so it does feel like a hopeless time. I would agree with that too. It's just like because everything has just been so upended for us in this past year. But I think the other thing that happens with New Year's too is it's not so much about making the resolutions as it is honoring the fact that there is a marker in our lives called January 1st, new year, new day, new month, new day, new year. I have an opportunity to again and look differently, look ahead differently, and but also look ahead realistically. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. We also know that at 12:01 the world is not going to just change the way we want it to be.
Yeah.
But I do think though, at least for me, and I would hope for many, that come January, it is a time for us to think about where we have been and what are we going to do differently in this coming year. What are we going to try to realize looking ahead? And I think too often we do not give ourselves enough time for that, because we're taught that we want everything really quick and now. And the truth is, everything takes time, but we have to give ourselves patience. And quite frankly, I think people learned a whole lot about patience in 2020 because it was forced upon us. It was
And
forced upon us.
Still is. I mean,
and it still is. And whether we chose to do something about it or with it remains to be seen.
Right.
But I do think that the marker on the calendar just gives us an opportunity to kind of rethink what is important for us, which honestly is no different than every other new year.
Right. Right.
What are the things that make me happy, give me joy, give me life, so that I might be able to help to do that for others? And I think that's the thing is, and as much as we're going to call 2020 the pandemic year, it might be helpful for us to say, what did we learn during this pandemic? What did we learn about ourselves that we want to carry forward? And what are the things that we want to say, yeah, no, I don't need to do that again? And I think for everybody, we're all going to have that sort of list. Things that we're going to, things that were good that came out of 2020.
Yeah.
And I know I know there is some good that has come out of that.
Yeah.
I mean, there has been new life sprouted everywhere. And I mean, hey, there were babies born in 2020.
A lot.
A lot. And there's going to be a lot in 2021 too.
Yeah.
But I mean, so there was new life there. Companies that have just taken, and I just heard something just the other day, how a lot of businesses used to think that online was not the place to go. Well, where would we be if we wouldn't have had online services available to us in 2020?
Yeah, and that a lot of companies, I was also reading something yesterday that was talking about how online companies thought that having their workers work from home would be distraction and they wouldn't be productive. And they have done a major most companies have done a major 180 from that.
Oh, yeah.
It said, you know what? We were wrong. Our employees are doing a lot more and they're more productive.
And they're productive, yes.
And they're overall happier because of, those things that take away from that in your day.
So maybe we're learning that as people, we are more aware of what we need to do for ourselves than what we gave ourselves credit for. That we don't need to have a work, a job, and a home life in separate little boxes, but they can commingle and work together. I mean, in some ways, I've been doing that anyway.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more deliberate.
Yeah.
I mean, these recordings are from my home.
Right.
I have an office in my home, and
right.
It's a whole lot easier. And I know those of you that know me or that know kind of where I'm located, the church is literally that way, about 100 yards.
Right. You walk to work. Right.
I literally walk to work. But the thing is, yeah, it's not a thing where people show up all the time.
Right.
And I think we're learning that technology has been a gift for us.
I mean,
whether we want to admit it.
This is, purely selfishly, you and I have touched lives that we didn't ever expect. That was the goal for all of these interviews for me, for my perspective, was to make sure people had good quality information at their fingertips.
Yep.
And so they could just watch a quick little video and then learn some stuff. And it's evolved to be beyond that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I will absolutely say Zoom has made it, or whatever platform, I'm not trying to,
Yeah,
no one
right, right,
needs
right.
me to say that. This has allowed me to do many more things quickly.
So in the church world, or at least the church world that I navigate through, when we went online back in March, um, we couldn't tell who was watching.
Mm.
Some of the platforms that we used, some of the companies where we used, could tell us where people checked in from. And so the worship services that my congregation and another congregation in Ephrata did together had people touching in from 11 different states. 11 different states.
Which is never possible in just your building.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I have to say, there are absolutely times where my relationship in this way is really good. Is it as good as if you and I are sitting across from a table having breakfast? No, but it's good.
This is a good second. This is a good second.
Yeah. And I mean, is it the same for my family? No. No one's going to say that it is. That's ridiculous. It's not. But
I have to say, and I shared this with you before as we were talking a little bit. So I don't consider myself a big technology person, but I was kind of forced into it this year. But on Christmas morning, it was just sort of like, wow. I was able to talk with both of my sons and their families via video chat. One of them is in Italy. That's right, Italy, 6 hours ahead in time. And my other son is in Virginia. And they're not traveling, and I'm not traveling. And it was like, wow, there we were. The 8 of us on a screen together. And it was just like, my heart was like, wow.
yeah.
And that was the first time we did it. Will we do it again? We might. We'll see. We'll see which ones of them are listening and or check this out. But I think that's the thing. And and the other thing that I have to be, that at least I've experienced also in my own particular context, there are some people in the congregation that I serve that do not have access to the internet.
I know.
Which is sad. And I think that's one of the things that maybe we might learn, that maybe this is more like, maybe each home needs to be equipped like electricity.
Yeah.
Or power, because this is the way that we communicate today. And I imagine that maybe even a decade or 2 decades from now, that it'll be a norm in every home that there's an internet connection. And on the same token, I have to say that even in my context, again, although I know of several that do not have internet access, we figured out a way that they could call in.
Yeah.
So they can use their landline, because some of them still have landlines.
Yep.
Or their cell phone, and they could still participate.
Yeah.
And the joy that I saw on their face when they said, I loved it. It's like,
right, because they were connected.
They were connected.
Yeah.
And maybe 2020 is the year that we learned that the personal connections is what is important.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, because we did a food box drive in the community a couple weeks ago, and the generosity of our community is, I was blown away. People,
tops,
companies, individuals, organizations who are like, no, you should have this food because we have to feed people. And the gratefulness of people who came to pick up their food, I mean, you were there. This woman comes over. I mean, this woman comes over and she's like, hi. And she had her license ready. And I said, no, you don't have to tell me what your name is. And she told me her name. I said, oh, you're on the list. I talked to you. It's fine. It's great. And she broke down. She started to cry. And I was like, hey, it's okay. She goes, I just can't believe that like you would want to give people food. And so you're right. I've been thinking about that too, that this is the time where we don't just say it, we actually feel the connection and we value it. Because we all just go, oh no, we're connected. But I don't know if people necessarily like feel it. And so you're right. And not only like giving, and that's not what I mean, but all of how those parts work together. Not just, you know what I mean? There's lots of kinds of generosity.
Yes. So I have a couple quick stories that I think fit into some of this very well, and some of the things that at least that I'm doing through our community at Bergstrasse. So the first story though is I also want to go back to the food drive just the other week where, and I remember you talking to this particular person when she drove up. It was like she had a flyer that I'm not sure where she found the flyer about.
Oh, that other woman, yeah.
And she just says, I just wanted to bring a box of food. Would you see that it gets to where it needs to go? And I think we were all just sort of like, I mean, there was a half a dozen or more of us standing there, and we were just sort of like collectively just like,
yeah, I didn't know what to do. I didn't, her generosity was so pure, but caught all of us off guard, which is so interesting. And we're like, oh, okay. Well, thank you for helping people here. I mean, she lives here. She lives
in the area, and somehow or another she got the flyer and knew about it.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, that is awesome. And then the other one has something to do with through the community at Bergstrasse. And I have to admit, I probably haven't done I have not done everything perfect. But one of the things that is important for me is that I try to keep our folks connected in whatever way. And I will publicly admit that I am not a telephone person. I've become more of a Zoom person. But one of the things that I began to do early on in our pandemic world was to write a letter every week to my congregation. And I'm not saying this for whatever. I'm just saying it because that's what I've done. And I had no idea how much it meant to people. I actually said something to someone that I actually got to speak with on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve, I got to talk to someone, face to face. And this particular person lives in a care facility, a large care facility in the area. And I just said, so how is life there? And this person says, I know more what's going on in my church than what I do in where I live. And I think that's one of the things that church is. Church is not a building. Church really is people. Yeah. People being connected to serve one another. People being connected to care for one another. People giving without asking why. And I think that's my hope, is that we as a collective people, regardless of whatever kind of religious upbringing you are, it's how do we treat one another. And maybe I hope 2021 is the year that we can say, yeah, I'm going to treat my neighbor differently. I'm going to treat my spouse differently. I'm going to treat my family differently. I'm going to treat myself differently.
Right. And then not to beat yourself up about not being perfect about it.
Right. Yeah, thanks for that reminder, seriously.
Yeah. Hello. And I mean, how many of the people who are watching are like, totally do that?
Exactly.
Right. Because, yeah. But I think that's, yeah. So this is the year of being connected in all the ways that work for you. And to try it.
Quiet, yes. Because the thing is, you're going to find out you're not alone. You're not alone.
Right. And there's lots of ways to do it.
Oh.
And so, right, don't feel like if you're not tech that you can't get connected. I mean, your letter example was the perfect one right there. Yeah. So that's it. That's what we should think about maybe. Come Thursday night when it's New Year's Eve.
Yeah. So Kelly, you mentioned a New Year's tradition very early on in our conversation, and I want to bring us back to that of the pork and sauerkraut for New Year's Day. So you have pork and sauerkraut for New Year's Day?
So growing up in my family, if the rule was you eat from an animal that pushes forward, not an animal that scratches back. So therefore you have pork and sauerkraut because of my heritage, and you don't have chicken.
And I learned something very similar, honestly, just a few years ago. Do you know what else is interesting about the pig?
Huh.
The pig cannot look back.
Oh, because of the way their body's organized.
Because of the way their body's organized, they can't look back. They can only look forward.
Oh. Pork and sauerkraut.
Pork and sauerkraut.
So for those of you who don't like sauerkraut, that's okay. Or if you don't like pork, that's okay.
Pork and mashed potatoes is good too. Oh, and by the way, it doesn't have to be a pork roast. Pork chops are really good too.
Look at us. You could just have bacon.
Or sausage. In our world, sausage too. Does sausage gravy count?
Okay. This degenerated quickly.
Our conversation just went, woo!
We were all aspirational. Then we were like, and maybe you could have gravy with onions and cream and then dessert. But you know what? Seriously though, that's how you get through it, man. I mean,
that's exactly right.
through
You
it.
take those moments and you laugh with them and
Yeah.
yet, you're all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're all good.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here.
Yeah.
We're here.
And excited to chat. So we're going to ring in the new year the same way, but different.
Yeah. Just a different outlook.
Yeah. And cross our fingers. Yeah.
Maybe this is the year that we truly live into. We are in this together.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
Me too.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you. Happy New Year.